When I think about my future as a TESOL educator, I often find myself wondering, who am I as a TESOL educator? Am I a strict and stern teacher? What kind of principles will I embody? What will my future students think of me? Questions like these seem to overwhelm me at times. They sift around in my head so quickly, I feel like they disappear before I can figure out if they're feasible or not. At times like these, when my fear of the unknown seems as though it's about to overwhelm me, I think back to my past and how it's brought me here today. As a social work intern, I adhered to the principles of my profession in every aspect of my internship, which was a geared to income housing facility. To advocate and educate for vulnerable populations and service providers, I would say to myself. Every time I worked with a client, I would ensure that I had adhered to this mindset before seeing another one. I worked with many populations regarding many aspects of their lives. Advocating on behalf of elderly clients in need of caregiving. Seminars on substance abuse. And anger management interventions were just some of the many responsibilities I was tasked with. While I felt a great deal of accomplishment and satisfaction after completing this work, I found the most enjoyment in helping adolescents with their homework. Despite never having taught in a professional context, I always managed to make the work fun and encourage the youths to keep reading and practicing. One day, in the middle of an explanation, the youth I was working with interrupted our lesson by saying, "I like being taught by you." When I asked why, she said, "Because you don't lord over me like some of my other teachers." After that, a surge of memories quickly overcame me. I was flooded with similar experiences I had faced as a student in her shoes. After mulling the idea over in my head for weeks after this interaction, I made it my personal goal to transition into education and provide students with a safe space to learn, free of judgment, ridicule, or humiliation from students and teachers alike. For this reason, I, as a TESOL educator, am an agent of empowerment. Like a social worker, I build rapport with students before teaching them to establish a sense of trust and openness. I will strive to provide creative seminars and captivate students, not belittle them. I will help students construct a sense of self therapeutically and not abuse the hierarchy of power in a classroom. If I discover a student is being harassed or taken advantage of, I will advocate for them no matter the context. These areas are not just important as aspects of social justice and basic human rights, but are also monumentally crucial to one's education. How else can one hope to learn if not in an accommodating environment? While these aspects influenced me to become an educator, it was my cultural background that led me to pursue the teaching of English as a second language. One day, while scrolling through the countless subjects I could learn how to teach, my mother regaled me with tales of traveling teachers in her homeland of Sri Lanka. They came from all over the West and traveled all over Asia, Europe, and the rest of the world, she began. One of them even helped us decide where we wanted to immigrate. she said. Ask your father. When I asked my dad about the story, he said that it wasn't uncommon where he went to school. Many of the students were interested in immigrating to America, Canada, or England, but didn't really know what living there was like, he said. So you got the teacher's perspective of what their lives were like wherever they came from? I asked. Yeah, it helped us decide where we wanted to immigrate, he replied. While I had heard of TESOL educators before, I had never considered the potential to help natives from immigration standpoints. This was an aspect of education I realized I could potentially be an asset in. As a first-generation immigrant, I had witnessed firsthand the adversities that my parents had to face at a young age. I also knew the difficulties they went through adjusting to Western culture. Thus, I may be able to teach these groups about life in Canada or America. If I can do so before these populations are to immigrate, it may assist them in overcoming a potential culture shock. On top of this, I bore witness firsthand to the benefits immigration brought the Western world, particularly Canada, through my parents. Like many other immigrants, their work helped fill employment gaps in the country that were desperately needed. Moreover, these immigrants helped to make up for the low birth rate in Canada, specifically by paying taxes and thereby contributing to the growth of the country's economy. To be part of a profession that encourages both immigration and economic growth is the opportunity of a lifetime.